What's up, y'all? Hope y'all doing good. I'm Anthony K. Thomas, and welcome to Wrestling with Rumors. Welcome, all of you. So, before we get into everything that is this week's episode of Wrestling with Rumors, like I say every week, every rumor that I'm about to read to you is exactly what it is. It is a rumor. You can speculate as wildly as you want, but until that rumor is proven fact, we see it happening in some way on TV, or the rumor that the pro wrestler that the rumor is possibly about, or the event that it's possibly about is confirmed by the person itself or announced in some way. It remains what it is, a rumor. So with that, let's get into everything that is a new episode of Wrestling with Rumors. And one other thing that I want to add is excuse me, is a promise to all of you, is that here on Wrestling with Rumors, we do not announce spoilers, that things that happened at events. As here on Wrestling with Rumors, we are most importantly a pro wrestling fan, and we enjoy to be lost in the moment as it's happening. And we will talk about it. We will express our feelings about it after we actually see it happening. But until we actually see it happening, until it airs and we see it happening, we hold off on the spoilers of something happening. Like, for example, a bunch of spoilers went out on last night's episode of SmackDown because of the time difference and where SmackDown is as part of their European tour. So for everyone else who went ahead and talked about what happened on SmackDown well before anyone else got to see it, because a lot of those people were either there to watch it as it was actually happening, or they're able to watch it on Netflix through their able to watch it on Netflix internationally, or because they use VPN to watch Netflix here in the States. For those who had to wait until they could watch it on USA Network, for us here on Wrestling with Rumors, we don't do the spoilers here. We, as I talked about a few weeks ago on Wrestling with Rumors, as I talked about spoilers, I believe spoilers to be the thing that ruins pro wrestling for those who haven't been able to watch, who weren't able to watch it yet when it had already happened, and doing their best on social media to avoid the spoilers until they're able to watch it. And it can be a hard thing. It really can be hard when a majority of people who are talking about what happened well before you already got to see it happening, because it hasn't aired yet for you, because you either aren't able to watch SmackDown on Netflix because it's only on Netflix internationally, or you don't have the money, or you don't use VPN to able to watch SmackDown on Netflix internationally, and you gotta wait until 8:00 your time on USA Network to watch it. So yeah, it can suck to get past those spoilers. So yeah, we don't do spoilers here, and I know what I just said right now, that is a mouthful. So let's get past that, and let's get on to everything that is Wrestling with Rumors. So, while shooting down on a fake rumor about LA Knight being repackaged, Sean Ross Sapp pointed followers to a WrestleVote's Fightful Select report that Knight is scheduled to travel to Saudi Arabia for Royal Rumble. LA Knight's not getting repackaged. I think when he comes back, it's still gonna be LA Knight, yeah, and it'll just be good to see. It's been a minute since we see him. He was taken off TV written off TV for an injury, not a real injury as far as we could tell. Just something to write him off for a while, give him a little time off, and we'll see him back at the Royal Rumble, I believe. Excuse me. WrestleVotes says there are already plans for Femi to be pushed near the top of the card on Raw and prominently featured at WrestleMania 42. So I talked about this on yesterday's episode, no, not yesterday's episode, excuse me. I talked about this not too long ago about Obafemi possibly coming to SmackDown. This was on an episode of Rumor of the Day, how I talked about with Obafemi vacating the NXT championship, leaving it in the middle of the ring on this past episode of NXT New Year's Evil, successfully defending his NXT title against Leon Slater, which was a great main event match. But then after that match, leaving the NXT title in the ring, vacating it, letting us all know that he's done in NXT. He's done ruling over NXT. Everything that he wanted to do in NXT, he has done. It is now time for taller and bigger mountains to climb, and that's the main roster. And after that, a rumor that was read that he was going to Raw. In that rumor, I said that I was hoping for him to go on SmackDown not only because we all want to see that match between him and Cody Rhodes happen again, and we want to see that match from start to finish without any interruptions, like it was at Saturday night's main event back in December when Drew McIntyre interrupted that match, get that match thrown out after he went after Cody Rhodes. Obafemi didn't like that. He pushed Drew McIntyre, and I felt something that could happen there. That's that, and leading into also wanting to see a match against him and Drew McIntyre. But having some more time to think about it, if he goes to Raw, which it seems more likely that he'll end up going to Raw, a match that could happen, especially at WrestleMania 42, that I would love to see happen, is Obafemi versus Gunther. The ruler versus the ring general is a match I really wanted to see. I want to see a lot more and been wanting to see that for a long time now. So if going to Raw, being on the same brand as Gunther, if that is where Obafemi ends up, is on Raw, hell yes, I would love to see that match. And this Obafemi versus Gunther for WrestleMania 42 is absolutely going to be a great match if this is how it looks and as I hope it goes as we get to WrestleMania 42. I know we'll definitely see him in the Royal Rumble, and to see him perform, it'll be great to see him in the Royal Rumble and to get that first face-to-face of Obafemi and Gunther at the Royal Rumble. That's going to put the ideas in everyone's head and like, oh, this is a match we got to see. And I feel like hopefully that'll be the first seed that we get that will lead to a match at WrestleMania between Obafemi and Gunther. But we will see in the coming, either on this coming week's episode of Monday Night Raw or in the next week or so, we should see Obafemi, because I feel like those video packages, they've been great, and I feel like that we've got to be seeing Obafemi on either Raw, hopefully on SmackDown, but either on Raw or SmackDown very, 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 very soon. So we will keep the eyes and ears open and watch out for a debut for Obafemi on the main roster. The outlet also heard that WWE has had internal discussions about signing New Japan Pro Wrestling star David Finlay after his New Japan Pro Wrestling contract expires. They are interested in bringing him into NXT. Now, David Finlay, whose father, Finn Finlay, works for WWE, was at one time a WWE superstar. There has been some back talk, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like there has been discussions floating around in the background about David Finlay possibly coming to WWE. I know WWE's had some interest in David Finlay for a while, and I know his father had some say in that as well. But as far as whether or not David Finlay comes to WWE or goes to AEW, is still a toss-up. You know, with his contract coming up, Where he will go next, I'm gonna say neutral. I'm gonna say neutral on this because he really could go either or, and then the number three could possibly be even TNA. But I feel that it'll either be WWE or AEW, and I'm gonna be neutral on this because honestly I don't know which way he could lean. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna stay neutral on this, but eyes and ears open to see what goes down. I mean, SmackDown has been picking up a lot of steam, and it's only getting more steam as we go into this year. Anyway, according to Bodyslam.net, Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre both pitched the idea to WWE officials for the title change that happened in the 3 Stages of Hell match last night on SmackDown in Berlin. Both wrestlers believed the time was right for a major moment. I'm going to talk some more about this in a little bit, but for now, I will just say that I absolutely agree that it was time. And I'm going to continue that conversation in a little bit. I'm going to get to it on the bottom of this. So we're going to hold that thought. We're going to put a pin in it, and we're going to come right back to it. Regarding Tiffany Stratton's absence from WWE since early November, the Wrestling Observer newsletter says she has been out of action with an injury. Yes, she has, and it looks like she is just about healed up. She should be cleared in time to be a part of the Royal Rumble. The Observer also claims there are people in WWE who are very high on AEW star Powerhouse Hobbs. Oh, absolutely. I honestly believe that. I mean, how could you not? Guys is a monster, you know. As Booker T would say, no bread, no water, just meat. So, here's the thing. Powerhouse Hobbs' contract expires this year. I'm not exactly sure when it expires, what month it expires in. I just know that his contract with AEW expires this year, which is why these reports of WWE being very high on Powerhouse Hobbs right now is starting to come up. But here's the thing about Powerhouse Hobbs. I think he's happy where he is right now. I think he's good. He's in a good position. He's in a good position right now with the Ops. And I think when his contract expires sometime this year, I think he's going to resign. I honestly believe that. I honestly believe that the thought of going to WWE, possibly starting at NXT, working your way up through NXT, and then going to the main roster is a nice idea to think about. It's nice and it's good, but I don't think he's leaving. I don't think he's going anywhere else. I think he's going to stay in AEW. I think Tony Khan is going to lock that down, get that contract re-signed, and Powerhouse Hobbs is going to stay in AEW for the foreseeable future. If anyone, another person I think will leave AEW who has a contract that expires sometime this year is Britt Baker. We have not seen her on TV. She has not been used. There's been no creative for her. And I know I'm repeating myself when it comes to Britt Baker on this, but there have been multiple opportunities last year for Britt Baker to come back into the AEW fold and utilize her as the star that she is, but they didn't. Tony Khan did not. And now we're just in a position where it's 2026. She's still not on TV. They still don't have any creative for her, which is complete BS. So I think her contract expires sometime this year. When it's done, I think she's just done with AEW. And where she goes next, being biased when I say this, but the value she adds to a women's locker room, the matches that she could have in different promotions, like especially in a TNA. But I feel her coming to WWE. I feel that it'll be a good fit for her. I feel that it'll work. The women's roster in WWE from NXT to SmackDown to Raw is stacked, and the matches she can have with all these women, Um, and especially for a women's United States Championship, a women's Intercontinental Championship, a women's WWE Championship, a women's World Championship, finding someone she can get along with and have a women's tag team championship match. It is endless if she comes to WWE, I feel. And the value that she will add to the women's roster in WWE from NXT to SmackDown to Raw is incredible. So I am biased when I say I hope that when her contract expires with AEW, she comes to WWE. And there hasn't really been any talk that I've seen or read about WWE being high on Britt Baker. But just because we haven't heard anything being said about it doesn't mean that they're not paying attention and that they are high on Britt Baker and they want her to come in. So I'm keeping my eyes and ears open on this, and I'm really hoping that's what happens, and we'll see. But as far as Powerhouse Hobbs goes, I don't think he's going anywhere. When his contract expires later this year, he's going to re-sign with AEW, and he's going to stay for the foreseeable future. Because I believe Hobbs, as far as I can tell, Hobbs is good and happy in AEW. And yeah, so that's what I see on that. And now, let's get into a little bit of this past week of WWE, a few things that went down. We saw, interesting enough, during a commercial break on Raw, this past week on Raw, during a commercial break, Javon Evans was announced to be now part of the Raw roster. Interesting. You know, I always saw Javon Evans as being on the SmackDown roster. But, okay, he's on the Raw roster, and he has a match coming up this week on Raw. So I am definitely looking forward to that. It's against one of El Grande Americano's minions, who I think is played by it's probably played by Pete Dunne, I believe. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, the Stranger Things themed episode of Raw that happened last week, there were a few good matches that came from it, but it was just weird. You know, the whole night about it just felt weird. It didn't feel right, and it wasn't like a full themed episode. I mean, they had props from the show. They had the van, and they had, like, you know, stuff to make it look like it was Stranger Things. But as far as, like, they didn't have any of the actors from the show. Like, none of the characters from the show from Stranger Things were a part of this episode of Raw. It just didn't feel right. I just feel like when it comes to themed episodes on WWE, and I know that they were doing it because it's Netflix, and Netflix probably had an idea that they wanted to try, and how hot Stranger Things is, and how everyone is still talking about that series finale. I just feel like that is what they were going for with all that, and it just didn't feel like it worked. You know, it would have been fine. And it didn't feel like an anniversary episode of Monday Night Raw. I mean, that episode was the anniversary episode of being on Netflix for a year, and it didn't feel like that. It just felt like a random Monday night on Raw where they decided to do a themed episode of Stranger Things, and it didn't work. You know, it really didn't work. And for an anniversary episode, that was an opportunity to have a 3-hour episode of Raw, but it didn't. It was just a regular episode of Raw. It was like a 2.5-hour episode. It didn't feel like an anniversary episode. That should have been an anniversary episode. But that's how I feel about it. It just didn't work. It didn't work. There were matches on there that were good. Becky Lynch became the Women's Intercontinental Champion once again. CM Punk retained his world title. Very, very close. But as far as that goes, I feel we have to see what that looks like for Royal Rumble. Because I did say that Braun Breaker would possibly lose the World Heavyweight title on that episode of Raw, and possibly get a rematch, possibly get another shot at it at the Royal Rumble where he could win. So right now, so far, it looks like I'm It looks like it's going the way I said it, but we're in the very early stages of it, so we just have to wait and see on that. NXT had a good night as it prepares for its future with New Year's Evil. As I feel in one part of the show, in the beginning of the show, it was supposed to be Blake Monroe versus Thea Hale for that women's North American Championship. And Blake Monroe came out, went after Thea Hale, just tore her down, right? Got the match thrown out, and then Blake Monroe got herself barred from the ring. Thea Hale eventually wanted to have that match, turned into an open challenge, became an open challenge. Izzy Dame took the open challenge and became the new women's North American champion. As far as Blake Monroe goes, I feel that Blake Monroe is about to go to the main roster, which is why I feel that story happened the way it did. Because as she got banned from the ring, I'm pretty sure she'll get a match, probably most likely against Izzy Dame now. But I feel that Blake Monroe is creeping up on coming to the main roster. Like, very close. Within the next month or so, we should be seeing her in the main roster, which is why I feel this went the way it did. Instead of giving Blake Monroe her rematch for the women's NXT North American Championship, she's just getting called up and going to either Raw or SmackDown. It's how I feel that is going to go. And Obafemi, as I talked about earlier, he looks like he's going to Raw. I hope it's SmackDown, but it looks like he's going to Raw, following with everything I said. As far as we look on SmackDown, this past Friday, Trick Williams and Jordynne Grace both had their debut matches on SmackDown and won their matches. Jordynne Grace ran into a little trouble with the WWE Women's Champion, Jade Cargill. Actually, Jade Cargill went looking for that, went to bring that trouble to Jordynne Grace as she walked around her, said that she ain't done nothing. And Jade Cargill really throwing her weight around as the WWE Women's Champion, just running the place how she wants to do it. So, and stepping up to every woman and saying that you ain't got nothing on me. And I freaking love it. I freaking love seeing this part of Jade Cargill just being dominant, showing like there ain't no woman gonna step up to me. And I feel that at this point, I'm really waiting for that Bianca Belair to just show up and be like, what happened to you? I don't know this person. This is not the Jade Cargill I remember, kind of thing. I'm waiting for it to happen because it's coming. I know it's coming. I'm just waiting for it. But yeah, Trick Williams, Jordynne Grace got their wins in their debut matches. So good start. Good start on SmackDown for them. And then we get to the main event of SmackDown, 3 Stages of Hell. Jacob Fatu returns during the third stage of Hell in that WWE Championship match between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. That third stage was a steel cage. As Drew McIntyre was about to exit, here comes Jacob Fatu, slams the door in Drew McIntyre's face, gets into the steel cage, goes after Drew McIntyre, and then Cody Rhodes inserts himself in that, trying to separate them, trying to say, this is my match, I'm trying to win this, stay out of it. And Jacob Fatu ain't hearing that, as Cody Rhodes tries to interrupt what Jacob Fatu is doing to Drew McIntyre, as it seems that Drew McIntyre is the one that attacked Jacob Fatu and put him out on the shelf for a little while. So then he goes after Cody Rhodes, and at this point, Jacob Fatu is not thinking. All he sees is red, right? He's just going after now Cody Rhodes, which gives Drew McIntyre the moment to slip out unscathed, and that's how Drew McIntyre wins, and he becomes the the WWE champion. And first, I'll say it's about time. It's been a moment. It's been a while, but this is good, right? I am glad that Drew McIntyre won the match. Winning is winning, regardless how you get it done. You get it done. You get the win, and he got the win on one of the biggest nights of his career. He got that win, especially in such a history-making match for SmackDown. So that was great, and it was just time, right? Because Cody Rhodes has held that WWE Championship for most of 2024, and pretty much all of 2025. There was that brief moment in 2025 where he lost it. There was like a few months where he lost it to John Cena, so John Cena could get that history-making 17th champion, being the one who beats Ric Flair's 16-time World Championship reign. John Cena now holds that reign holds that longest, most titles. So, but getting it back at SummerSlam. So for the most part, Cody Rhodes has held it for most of 2025 and most of 2024. So it was time to change it up, get a new champion for 2026, and that's what we got. As far as what things look like for Royal Rumble, I think for Royal Rumble, matches were announced. There will be matches, qualifying matches. Winners of those qualifying matches will be entered into a Fatal 4-Way match. That Fatal 4-Way match will happen at Saturday night's main event. The winner of that Fatal 4-Way match will then go on to the Royal Rumble and face Drew McIntyre for that WWE Championship. Now, Cody Rhodes will have no say in that match. Now, here's what I also feel when it comes to Cody Rhodes. I feel that it's time for Cody Rhodes to put SmackDown in the rear view and come to Raw. I think it's time for him to come back to Raw, because the only reason why he was on SmackDown was because he was going after Roman Reigns for that WWE Championship. After he got that WWE Championship, he moved over to SmackDown. I think it's time for Cody Rhodes to put SmackDown in the rear view and come over to Raw. Now, I feel that also that it'll be a minute before we'll get him back on Raw, because I feel like he's got some unfinished business, not with Drew McIntyre, but with Jacob Fatu. I feel like there's a match coming between Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu, possibly. But outside of that, I feel that it's time for Cody Rhodes to come back over to Raw and set his eyes on the World Championship. That's how I feel. I don't think he'll win it right off the bat, because you got guys like Braun Breaker. You got CM Punk, who's the world champion. You got a Braun Breaker still coming after that title. You got a Gunther, who's going to be putting his eyes back on that title very soon. You got a Obafemi coming to the most likely going to Raw, going to have his eyes on that championship as well. You got a Seth Rollins that will be returning very soon, and if it goes the way I think it will go, Braun Breaker will win that world title, and Braun Breaker will win that world title possibly at the Royal Rumble. If they make that match for the world title at Royal Rumble, it'll probably be a round 2 of CM Punk versus Braun Breaker, with probably some kind of stipulation in that match. And that's where I feel that Braun Breaker will win that title. Seth Rollins comes back in time for the Royal Rumble and then locks eyes with Braun Breaker after winning the Royal Rumble, going after Braun Breaker to get that world title, take everything that Braun Breaker and the Vision took for Seth Rollins. So there's a lot to look forward to in this year on both Raw and SmackDown and NXT as well, as far as new faces showing up. But yeah, I think it's time for a new scenery for Cody Rhodes, and it's definitely on Monday Night Raw. But that'll do it for this week's episode of Wrestling with Rumors. I appreciate you for watching, and if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with all new episodes of Wrestling with Rumors, and my daily show of Rumor of the Day drops. Go ahead and hit a thumbs up, leave a comment, and until the next one, I hope all of you have a good, fun, and safe week. I will be back here next Sunday for a new episode of Wrestling with Rumors. Until then, don't forget to take care of yourselves. I will see you on that next one. Peace, y'all.